demonstrating remarkable resilience and leadership. We will listen and we will speak out and be heard, all in service of finding opportunities and solutions. Please plan to join us in celebrating our 4th anniversary by amplifying the voices of Black women. For more on our symposium and 4 events celebrating 4 years on the air, simply stay tuned or keep an eye on KBLA1580.com and help make this Juneteenth more jubilant with all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting a movement of people. It's like we dancing to the ministry of, it's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, power, it's even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping Black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the princess is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind. Caress the mind and question justify. With you and God in time, I best align. Shine.
You are listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and chief White House correspondent. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. All you got to do is type in Dr. Nii-Q. That's DRNIIQ, and I pop right on up. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you'll never miss an episode. You get a little push notification. We make sure that we keep you in the loop. Keep you tapped in. I would be remiss if I didn't take just one quick moment, if you all wouldn't indulge me for just one quick moment, to wish my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, Addie Mae Thomas, a happy heavenly birthday. She has gone on to be with the ancestors, but there's not an April 7th that happens where I don't think about her. Next year would be my grandmother's 100th birthday. Mom, auntie, keep me honest. So she lived a long life and she was something else. But thinking of Mrs. Addie Mae Thomas today. May she rest in peace. Well, now switching gears. Look, we have a great show in store for you today. In a little bit, we'll be talking to Don Porter. Don Porter, who is the director of the Luther Vandross documentary. Did you like that? I liked it. I thought it was really good. Never too much. She is booked and busy, and you're going to have a chance to see her newest project, Eyes on the Prize. Eyes on the Prize 3. It is out on HBO Max. We're going to talk all about that and more in just a little bit. And then a little bit later this hour, we have a special guest. I'm not saying who, but all I'm saying is they are joining us near the bottom of the hour because they have a very special announcement. They wanted our leaders, learners, and listeners to hear it from them. If you might have been out at any of the protests across the country this weekend, you definitely want to hear this. This may give you something else to do, something else to tap into. And so special guest, can't say who, but I'll give you a hint. It involves the United States Senate. That's all I can say. Special guest joining us near the bottom of the hour. And then in hour 2, Gianna Tobani will be joining us. She is a 2-time Emmy-winning writer and documentarian. She has a new book out. We're going to talk all about that and her investigative reporting work. But first, it's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. That's right. It's time for your national news roundup. Kicking us off, ABC News reporting. They're reporting economic nuclear war. Some billionaires are criticizing Trump's tariffs. Some prominent business allies of President Trump are speaking out against the president's tariffs as the policy, turns the markets topsy-turvy and triggers recession warning. Billionaire financier Bill Ackman, who backed Trump's 2024 campaign, just today slammed the tariffs as, quotes, a major policy error. He went on to say that business investment will grind to a halt, consumers will lose their wallets and pocketbooks, and we will severely damage our reputation with the rest of the world. That will take years and potentially decades to rehabilitate. That's what Bill Ackman said in a post on X just a day earlier, urging Trump to pause the policy rollout for 90 days. Ackman warned that the policy could bring about an economic nuclear war. Tesla CEO Elon Musk said on Saturday that he wants, quotes, a zero tariff situation between the United States and Europe. The remarks came during a video conference interview. The latest reversal came from JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon, who released a letter to investors on Monday warning that Trump's tariffs would raise prices and possibly tip the U.S. into a recession. And so, I don't know, what's interesting, when you think about people like Bill Ackman, you supported President Trump on the campaign trail. He's not doing anything he said he wasn't going to do. So you supported somebody on the campaign trail that you didn't believe, and now you're surprised that they're actually doing it. And so, I mean, it's just mind-blowing to me, watching a number of folks, particularly these business leaders who, whine about wanting to have certainty in the marketplace on one hand, but on the other hand, whenever you work on regulating the marketplace, they say free market. We want a free market. Look, Trump said that he was going to institute these tariffs again and again and again, and he's doing the thing that he said that they would do. So I don't understand why his supporters are all of a sudden surprised. We'll dig more into that in the days ahead. But in other news, a man mistakenly deported to El Salvador doesn't need to be back in U.S. tonight. That's at least what the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled. NBC News reporting that the United States does not have to return a Maryland man who was accidentally deported to a high security prison in El Salvador. They don't have to return him to U.S. soil by midnight. That's what the Supreme Court ruled today in an administrative stay that temporarily pauses a judge's previous order. The Trump administration's request came as the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals on this morning denied the administration's request for a stay of a judge's order demanding that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a legal resident protected from deportation by a 2019 court order, who has lived in the United States since 2011, be returned to the United States by 11:59 p.m. on Monday. An administrative stay was issued by the Supreme Court this afternoon with a request that Garcia's team file a response by 5 p.m. Tuesday. A lot of folks following the story very closely. And then in other news, the Washington Post is reporting that after Trump funding cuts, U.S. Catholic Church ends their resettlement work. Look, I went to Catholic high school in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm very well aware, as I'm sure many of you, in terms of the Catholic Church's commitment to this work. Citing drastic government funding cuts, the U.S. Catholic bishops today said that they were ending a century-old program of resettling refugees fleeing war or persecution. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops Migration and Refugee Services, the largest refugee resettlement agency in the world, will also end its support of undocumented children who come into the United States. The Bishop's program was one of 10 national resettlement programs, most of which are faith-based, whose contracts were suspended in January by the Trump administration. The government has been partnering with such groups to resettle vetted migrants for a half century. When we come forward, we're switching gears. I am delighted to welcome Don Porter, the executive producer of Eyes on the Prize 3, We Who Believe in Freedom Cannot Rest, 1977 to 2015. This is a series that means something very special in the household that I grew up in, and I'm sure it meant something special to the household that so many of you grew up in. And so when we come forward, we're going to dig into this and more with Don Porter. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about. Before the fire, Altadena was a real-life Wakanda. A thriving black oasis just 50 miles from downtown Los Angeles. 80% black residents were homeowners, building intergenerational wealth against the odds. It was a hub of black-owned businesses, churches, and cultural institutions. It stood as a symbol of black resilience and economic independence. Then, in a matter of hours, it was gone. The fire tore through homes, swallowed businesses, and left behind a painful void. But was it just an unstoppable act of nature, or was negligence involved? Did officials ignore early warning signs? Were the response efforts delayed or insufficient? What role, if any, did corporate or government failures play? Survivors are demanding answers. Don't miss our KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall. The Eden Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting, on Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center, 1081 North Fair Oaks in Pasadena. Join Dominic DePrima, Nii-Quartelai Quartey, James Farr, Tavis Smiley, and a panel of survivors, community leaders, and experts as we commemorate day 100 since the wildfires flared up, and we discuss where we go from here. It's KBLA's Eden Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting Town Hall, Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center in Pasadena. Light refreshments to follow. Admission is free, but sign-up is required at our KBLA1580.com website. The first 100 attendees will receive a complimentary air purifier. This is a community call to action, brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Hereeth my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times?
You're playing the lute. Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Hit me! National News: The Consequence. Informed opinion. And analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and if your growing up experience was anything like mine, you might remember an incredibly inspiring series called Eyes on the Prize, America's Civil Rights Movement. It was inspired by Henry Hampton's legendary work. It was groundbreaking. It was a groundbreaking 1987 series that it illuminated bold stories of people, many of which we like to feature and lift up here on this show, and communities who continue to work for equity, who continue to work for racial justice. And I'm so delighted to welcome the executive producer of the latest addition to this series, Don Porter. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Talk to us about what inspired you to take on a project like this, Eyes on the Prize Part 3. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. This is an HBO original 6-part documentary series. It is a storied series that means so much to so many. What inspired you to take it on?
Well, I wouldn't say I was inspired to take it on. It was more like I was afraid to mess it up. We started working on this during the pandemic. So in 2021, and HBO and the producers came to me, and, HBO had greenlit this idea, and it was even before the stories were selected. And, I'd worked with the people before, and they were really looking, one thing, I wasn't kidding when I was like, one thing you cannot do is mess up Eyes. I very much grew up like you. That song is, in my head. And, the producers, Judy Hampton, who's the sister of Henry Hampton, had been working with Joy Gorman. And Joy, bless her, had been working on this for years, trying to figure out, we need another installment of Eyes, and how can we get it done? So when they came to me, I said no. I was like, oh, no. I'm not going to be the person who everyone's like, that wasn't as good as the first one.
I can imagine they pick up the phone, they call you. Is this Dawn? No, this ain't Dawn.
No, she's not here. Yeah, can I take a message? And then it was like a year later, they came back and they were like, would you look at this? We've done some, more thinking about how it's going to go. And really, I thought, as afraid as I am, this is too important to not give it my best and really try. And I think being in lockdown and being in pandemic really influenced that. We're also then responding to all the police violence, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, the list goes on and on and on. And so what we wanted to do was honor the original Eyes, but then also bring it into the current, with the caveat that what Eyes did that was so important is it was a look back. So it comes out in 1987, but they were talking about the 1960s and 70s. And so we thought, what period, where should we pick up? So we pick up in the late 1970s. I think a lot of people have the mistaken idea that the civil rights is John Lewis and, Dr. King and Medgar Evers. And really what Eyes teaches us, because Eyes really focused on ordinary people doing really important work. When they featured John Lewis, he was not famous.
That's right.
He was a 19-year-old student. So we kind of adopted that framework. And what stories were still resonating today, but there were some significant actions that maybe had not yet been lifted up. And so the first thing to do, which we spent months and months and months on, was which stories are we going to tell? Which are the issues that we're going to give these 6 precious hours to?
And part of what I love about the series, and I had a chance to attend the screening at the Schomburg in Harlem not too long ago, and that was extraordinary. But what I loved about this is that each episode also examines the strategies of those who fought for racial equality across multiple decades. To your point earlier, I think sometimes people get the instant oatmeal version of the fight for racial justice. And, there are some pretty extraordinary strategies that folks employ that are still relevant today. Did that part of it make it all the more difficult? Because you're not just looking back at that time period, but you're looking at, which stories and also which strategies may illuminate the path forward.
That was, it really was exactly what you're saying. It was like this, crosshatch of, okay, there are so many important civil rights stories, but what shows us how you organize? That is also part of the brilliance of Eyes. Is it's not just showing people telling us what they did, it's literally showing us how they did it. So which stories had archived to support an immersive documentary? And then for me, something that I was very taken by is how Henry Hampton chose each team to tell each story. So because I am a masochist, I said, we're going to have 6 different teams, 6 different directors, different producers, and we're going to pick 6 different, kind of things to focus on. And then somehow I'm going to manage all of that. But that ended up being one of the most significant, meaningful, and in itself inspiring parts. I mean, so think about what it was like 2021. We had vaccines, but we were just coming back together. People were not really back to work.
Mhm.
And the first thing we did as a group is I said, we're all going to come into the office and meet each other, all the teams that, could be in New York, which was, I think 5 out of the 6 teams could do that. And then we're going to watch the original Eyes and talk about it together. And that's what we did. We watched all of season 1. And, when you described the opening of what Eyes meant to you in your family as a young person, that's what it meant to all of us in that room. And I think at that moment, we came together as a team. And we said, although it's individual teams, we're thinking not only how does each episode tell you something, but how does the series as a whole, how does the arc tell you something, not just marching forward in time. So we really tried to work together, and we met together many, many times. But what we talked about is exactly what you're saying. What did the original Eyes show us about strategy and power and joy? As much difficulty as we were not, watching just the terrible things that happened to people, what the focus on is what power people took.
Mhm.
And so to me, like I said, we started this in 21, we finished it in 23. It didn't come out till 25, but what a perfect time for this series to come out, because the stories that we are telling, episode 1 is about fair housing. That's the episode
Mhm.
that you saw. Episode 2 is about the criminal legal system and how Black and brown bodies were targeted, how there was such a conversation about how Black folks in lower income neighborhoods saying, keep us safe, but then so wanting some police presence, but also not wanting to be over policed. How do you deal with that? What did people do? Episode 3 is about the Million Man March. And,
I really loved that episode. I mean,
I love that episode too.
I mean, that really just sort of transported me to, a time where, I think there was a hunger very similar to this moment that we find ourselves in right now. There was a hunger for community. There was a hunger for bold action. There was an investment in radical imagination. I mean, I don't think anybody that would have had previously thought that it was possible for 1 million Black men, not just men of color, but 1 million Black men, to get together right here where I'm broadcasting live in our nation's capital. And it happened, and everyone who witnessed it and everyone who participated in it were somehow transformed. Somehow it was a possibility model that we hadn't seen before. And I just thought the way that your teams went about producing each episode, they left us with that residue of a possibility model.
And that's exactly what happened during Million Man March. My husband went to Million Man March. We were newly married. We had no kids. We lived in DC. We were young lawyers. And I remember, when he went, I was not so sure because it was called for by Minister Farrakhan. And when he came home, I said, how was it? He said, it was so peaceful and so pleasurable to be there in community with other Black men who just wanted to be together and kind of give the lie that we are all violent and not family people and not interested in our own salvation. And that's what they accomplished. And the story of the Million Man March, I haven't found anything where it has been told. It was, if there is a theme to this, season 3 of Eyes, it's how is the Black community reconciling with itself? We have moved beyond official segregation, and now we have to wrestle with ourselves as a community about how we advance civil rights.
When we come forward, we're going to dig a little bit deeper with Don Porter, the executive producer of HBO original 6-part documentary series, Eyes on the Prize 3. We Who Believe in Freedom Cannot Rest. They cover the period of 1977 to 2015. When we come forward, I'm going to talk to Don about how President Obama sort of showed up in this iteration of the series and how it might be different for the next iteration of the series. Same first Black president, different time periods. I have questions for Don. When we come forward, you're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're looking to be engaged, enlightened, and empowered about issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice, you've tuned into the right place. A More Perfect Union continues when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. A second child has died in Texas' growing measles outbreak, now nearing 500 cases. Health officials say Black communities face higher death rates due to lower vaccination rates. Experts stress the MMR vaccine is the best protection. New York City is suing 9 major distributors for illegally selling flavored e-cigarettes. Black Mayor Eric Adams says they are targeting kids with addictive products. The city wants to block sales and is demanding damages. Singer Cassie will testify under her own name in Sean Diddy Combs' upcoming trial, where he faces charges including sex trafficking and racketeering. The trial starts May 5th, and Diddy denies all allegations. And Atlanta's new 404 Day Parade brought hundreds downtown to celebrate culture and community. Held on April 4th, the event featured floats, dancing, and Black Mayor Andre Dickens as Grand Marshal. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
North Hollywood on the 170 northbound, delays from Victory to the 5, and the southbound side's moving nicely between the 5 and the 134-101 split. The 101 southbound delays all the way out of Agora Hills from Liberty Canyon. You're on the brakes ahead to White Oak and Encino. More slowing ahead in Sherman Oaks away from Woodman and stretches to the 170-134 split. And Hollywood South 101 away from Sunset Boulevard all the way into downtown Los Angeles. Tough on the 10 eastbound out of Santa Monica, leaving Cloverfield, delays all the way to the 5.
Why do we grill to order at Waba Grill? Because it's just better for you. And our Asian-inspired menu has high-quality proteins that are healthier for you. Download the Waba Rewards app or order online at wabagrill.com. Waba Grill, it's for you.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Mookie Betts, the only African-American player on the Dodgers roster, joined his teammates Monday morning at the White House for a celebration with President Trump. Trump invited the Dodgers to honor the team for their World Series championship last season. When the invitation was extended to the Dodgers in March, Betts said he was undecided if he would attend the ceremony. During Trump's first term in 2019, Betts boycotted a White House visit with the Boston Red Sox. Joined his teammates Monday morning because he did not want to be a distraction. During the 20-minute ceremony, Dodgers pitcher Clayton Kershaw gave Trump a Dodgers jersey with the number 47. The Dodgers White House visit drew mixed reactions from Dodgers fans because of Trump's controversial policies affecting minorities around the country. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, and it's almost time to celebrate KBLA's 4th anniversary coming up Juneteenth 2025. We'll be marking the achievement with 4 key community events, including a special symposium, luncheon, and brain trust hosted by me entitled The State of Black Women in Los Angeles. Keep it locked here for details on how to join us for this groundbreaking symposium examining the unique challenges, triumphs, and contributions of Black women in Los Angeles in the areas of education, healthcare, community leadership, cultural and political contributions. This public convocation will provide a critical forum to address the specific social, economic, and political realities facing Black women in LA today. We'll go live with a radio broadcast and YouTube live stream, a public discussion, and a private dialogue with some of LA's most impactful women. It's an affirmation of Black women standing at the intersection of race and gender in times of adversity while demonstrating remarkable resilience and leadership. We will listen and we will speak out and be heard, all in service of finding opportunities and solutions. Please plan to join us in celebrating our 4th anniversary by amplifying the voices of Black women. For more on our symposium and 4 events celebrating 4 years on the air, simply stay tuned or keep an eye on KBLA1580.com and help make this Juneteenth more jubilant with all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
At Providence, health equity is the foundation of our community health initiatives, ensuring care reaches those who need it most. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in America. African Americans face a higher risk of life-threatening issues like hypertension, the #1 cause of stroke. 55% of Black adults have high blood pressure. The good news is 80% of heart disease is preventable with healthy lifestyle changes and patient-centered care provided by the Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. From routine screenings to advanced procedures, Providence provides comprehensive care for the heart conditions that overly impact our community by ensuring patients receive treatments tailored to their needs. Let's stop the trend of being 30% more likely to die from heart-related problems. Take charge of your heart health with world-class cardiologists who deliver the compassionate care you deserve. Visit providence.org/SoCalHeart. That's providence.org/SoCalHeart to request an appointment.
As we go a little something like this.
Hey, it is me, D.L. Hughley, and I am thrilled to be heard weekdays in my hometown on KBLA Talk 1580. So check out the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580. We got a whole lot to talk about, let me tell you. That's like a real.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. If you love a good documentary film, as I do, Dawn Porter has her finger on the pulse of another great documentary series. I'm talking about HBO original 6-part documentary series, Eyes on the Prize 3. We Who Believe in Freedom Cannot Rest, covering the period of 1977 to 2015. If you loved Luther Never Too Much, if you love John Lewis Good Trouble, if you love the Lady Bird Diaries, this is the latest addition to the canon of documentary filmmaking that Dawn Porter is gifting we the people. And so thank you, Dawn, on behalf of we the people.
I'm glad my mother called ahead to make sure you had the full list. So you're welcome.
So, before the break, I mentioned that this period of time that you covered includes, almost all 8 years of the Obama presidency. And I'm curious as to, how you all captured the relevance of the Obama presidency to ordinary people. Juxtapose that against how you might capture President Obama as a former president in the next installment, given so many extraordinary events that took place in this country then and now.
Well, when you're in office and you are juggling all the competing demands, assuming that you are a president who actually cares about the health and well-being of your country and your citizens, all citizens, and not just your own family, there's a lot of pressure on you. And I think, of course, President Obama's election was historic. We all had a lot of hope for it. I think looking back, he had a number of incredible accomplishments. And I think I envy the Eyes on the Prize for folks because they get to be, celebrating the legacy that he left and the advances that he made. And I think they can look with, an appropriately clear lens about all that he was fighting. In our, time, we look, I think, with a very clear lens at, some of the places where the activists thought he could have done more and where there were some disappointments. And I think that that's important for us to recognize. One of the important reasons to take another look at Eyes 1 and Eyes 2 is there is this myth that the Black community is a monolith, that we all think the same thing. So Asako, who directed the episode about the young activists, we fought so hard to get, the song "My President is Black" because it just really gave, the exuberance that so many people, but so many young people had about his election. And so, I think we cover really how those people had to come to terms with the limitations of what that presidency did. But I think, for me, I'm an Obama fan. And I think, but we were very clear that we needed to, that this was going to end before in 2016. And the reason for that is we are still dealing with the fallout of the 2016 election. And we didn't know how much we would be dealing with it.
We're still dealing with the fallout from birtherism.
And so we could not adequately in 2021 capture what the legacy of the period between 2016 and 2020 really was, because we are still living that. So, I think history will look kindly upon President Obama. That is not to say there's not criticisms, but, when I think of no scandals, returning the country to, economic prosperity, lowering unemployment, and in the second term, focusing much more explicitly on race. I think that those are all important to recognize. The Obama administration deported more people, than other administrations. So there's some very fair criticisms to level. The Obama administration did not focus on race, in term one. I'm sure we could have hours and hours of conversation about that choice, but that's what it is. That's what happened. And part of this is just saying what happened and how it impacted the communities who were looking to that administration for some help and relief.
Don, in our remaining minutes with you, I want to ask you about your message to the young people, what you hope the young people who watch Eyes on the Prize 3 really glean from this. It's not lost on me. I believe you're a Swarthmore alum. You're also a Georgetown alum. And a number of universities have been in the news. A lot of universities, including your alma mater, Georgetown, really disappointing a number of alum, seemingly capitulating to the wants and the power grab of our sitting president. What do you hope young people who are disillusioned at the moment glean from this latest installment of the series?
I think that's a really critical question. I have a 23-year-old and a 21-year-old. And I know from the conversations with them how disillusioned and angry they are. The first thing I would say is what we focus on in eyes 3, just like in eyes 2 and eyes 1, is something that John Lewis told me himself. I had the honor of following Mr. Lewis for a year, and it would turn out to be the last year of his life. And he said, there is always something that you can do. John Lewis was really so strategic. And his strategy was, what are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do in a short period of time, 1 to 2 years? And what's your long-term goal? So you're not always prioritizing each of those time periods. Sometimes you just need to get up and go out with your friends and stay sane. Sometimes you need to vote. And then sometimes you need to organize people and get your strategy together. So, what I would say to people is we very specifically in episode 6 focus on the young activists who are leading us into this next generation. And I think what I took from that story is how they had to mature in their activism and understand, Julian Bond, I love the Dream Defenders occupying, the government in Florida, but Julian Bond went to retrieve them and said, enough, you have made your message. You have done a wonderful thing. It's time to move on, and gave them that elegant exit. So I think things are, they're just not always so black and white. And how do you, kind of stay true to your values, but also push for change? And John Lewis was really a master at that. And one last thing I really want to say, which we didn't get to show it in John Lewis Good Trouble, but I know that this happened. When the squad was elected, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, John Lewis met with them. And he said to those 4 young women, your job is different now. You have been the activist hammering on the halls of power, and now you are the power. And so you need to learn how to shift that. And that can be very difficult for people who are used to pushing for change. He said, now you are the change. Mm-hmm. And so you have to shift your perspective. And I think that's what I would say to young people is we need both. We need the people marching in the streets, but we also need the people strategizing in the halls. And we need the people influencing, in the background. We need all of your energies. Marching alone doesn't do it. Marching plus strategy and organizing and mobilizing, that does. So, that's what I say to my own kids. They don't listen to me, but I will continue to say it. And I have a lot of faith in this next generation. I think they may be disillusioned, but we need to tell them that we are not. And that, Vernon Jordan always used to say, we have been here before.
Mm-hmm. That's right. We have been here before, and we have seen eyes on the prize before, but not quite like this. Hat tip to you, Don Porter, and to your entire team for really adding so much to the canon at this critical time. I want to encourage all of our leaders, learners, and listeners to check out the HBO original 6-part documentary series, Eyes on the Prize 3, We Who Believe in Freedom Cannot Rest, 1977 to 2015. Thank you, Don Porter, for joining us here on A More Perfect Union.
Thank you for all that you do and for lifting up this series. We're incredibly proud of it.
Absolutely. When we come forward, we have a surprise for you all. The hint is United States Senate. We have a special guest with a special announcement. When we come forward, you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
I'm ready. Let me just grab my bag. Sweatpants, huh? Didn't know we were keeping it casual this month. Yeah, I feel bloated every now and then.
You have to try New Align 3-in-1 Biotic Gummies. They have prebiotics to nourish good bacteria, probiotics to help relieve occasional bloating, and postbiotics for immune support.
All that in one gummy?
Yep. So no sweatpants next time?
Not anymore.
Align 3-in-1 Biotic Gummies for gut health support. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide Free and Gentle provides an excellent Tide clean, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues like dyes or perfumes. So it's gentle on your skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to welcome back my friend, Dakari Laureate, who has a very special announcement for us here. And before we get to his announcement, let me just say this. Last week, there were so many people that were so proud to see Senator Cory Booker on the floor of the United States Senate for 25 hours and 5 minutes. He now holds the record for the longest filibuster on the floor of the United States Senate. And there were so many disillusioned Americans, Democrat, Republican, Independent, that were left with a little shot of inspiration. And the announcement that Dakari is about to share builds off of that moment. For folks who are looking for what to do next, looking for where to go, looking for leaders to follow, leaders that are going to defend Medicaid from dramatic cuts and so many other issues that are important to everyday people, I want you to really turn up your volume and listen to what Dakari has to say. Dakari, take it away.
Hey, well, it is so nice to see you again, Dr. Quartey. Happy birthday. And it is an honor to be back on the show.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to have you back on the show. And it's an honor to have you here doing the thing that we say every single episode. Do what you can from where you are with what you have. And in that spirit, Dakari, tell the people what you're doing.
Well, I just can't take it anymore, Dr. Quartey. I just saw the dysfunction happening in Washington, all the partisan gains, particularly with our current representation in the U.S. Senate here in Alabama. And I'm a business owner. I have family and friends that are on Medicaid that depend upon these programs. I volunteer for Meals on Wheels. And just thinking about the seniors at home and the idea that maybe next week we'll lose funding and I can't deliver their meals. I was sick of it. And I said, you know what? I need to be the change that I want to see. And for that reason, I am announcing that I'm running for the United States Senate to represent the great state of Alabama.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations. That is a very big deal. That is a very tall order, running for the United States Senate in Alabama. Look, we have seen folks run for the United States Senate against great odds. I'm thinking of former Alabama U.S. Senator Doug Jones.
Yes.
Who made a little bit of history there. But he didn't do it by himself.
It takes a coalition.
Talk to us about the coalition that you're building in Alabama to give the people of Alabama a real choice this next election and who they send back to represent them in the United States Senate.
Well, I have been on the phones with real Alabamians for the last 2 months and listening to their pain points and speaking to different constituent groups. So I spent a couple of days talking to teachers. My mother is a public school teacher, talking to people up in Huntsville impacted by the cuts that are coming to NASA, talking to folks who work at UAB, where I was born, by the way, impacted by the research cuts. So what I'm seeing, Dr. Quartey, is we are not a red state. I would not characterize us in that regard at all. There is so much pent-up anger and frustration with what's been happening the last couple of months. On Saturday, I went out to be a part of the demonstrations and the resistance in the park, actually where I walk my dog. So this is real. Up and down the state, people are expressing their concerns about this administration and their desire for new voices, pragmatic voices that want to work for them.
I really appreciate you really giving us a lay of the land across the state of Alabama. I think there are a number of folks who are maybe less familiar with the politics of the region and certainly the politics of that state, where because it is so reliably red, I think there are a number of folks who may write it off. And so help our leaders, learners, and listeners understand why you believe you have a real shot at winning this United States Senate seat in deep red Alabama.
There are so many different ways to get to our win number, which I'm kind of holding close to the vest, but I'll give you a couple hints. For starters, you mentioned Doug Jones at the beginning. We know those votes exist. These are no nonsense, common sense voters who just want the best for the state, and they don't want to be embarrassed in Washington by their representatives. So that is there. Then our participation rate is so low. In midterms, sometimes we get into the 30s if we're lucky, and we're gonna slice and dice that and get into the demographics that show up. But here's a hint, the folks that look like me are underrepresented in that vote number. So we have a real opportunity to get young folks out, to get them engaged, to let them see themselves in a candidate that has lived their life, that's had those experiences that will serve them in the Senate. And you know the story of my false arrest last year, Dr. Quartey. How many young people have experienced that and want someone to speak to how we make the justice system work for everyone, not just the money people and not just the politically connected?
That sounds like a pretty aggressive agenda, but it also sounds like an agenda that really touches on the hopes and dreams and aspirations of so many folks across Alabama. I also appreciate your mention of the impact of these mass layoffs and these federal cuts. I think there are a lot of people, when they think of the federal government, they just think about Washington, D.C., or they might think of the DMV area, but the reality is the majority of federal workers live outside of Washington, D.C. You pointed out the cuts to NASA, the cuts to research centers, the cuts to higher education in Alabama. Talk to us about what it is that people want you to do about it. Do they think that a U.S. senator on their side can make a difference?
Absolutely. And there are many roles that a senator can play. Now, of course, the basics, legislation and the votes, but who do you want on your side when we're talking about DOJ cuts? Who do you think is going to fight for a justice system that protects everyone, that provides due process? You know, we've heard about these roundups happening with ICE. I know what not getting due process feels like. So we have a real opportunity to get a senator into Washington that has had the lived experience, that has built a business from the ground up, that's worked through corporate America, that's been laid off through corporate America, a real human experience that represents Alabama.
Yeah, Dakari, I'm going to give you our final 30 seconds. Where can people go to tap in to be a part of the movement that you are building in Alabama to return some normalcy?
Yeah.
If we can even call it that. More importantly, make government work for everyday Alabamans. Where can people go to support you and learn more?
Well, to respond to that, normalcy is the baseline. We want to see some progress here and see Alabama, lift up from education to our health scores, obviously better, higher paying jobs. And folks can learn about me at DakariLariat.com. Just Google me and the platforms are there. My life story is there. And I'm so excited to take on this opportunity to represent the United States and Alabama in particular.
Dakari Lariat, that's Dakarai, Lariat, Larriett. Dakari Lariat is running for the United States Senate in the great state of Alabama. You all might remember Dakari was on our show flirting with the idea during the holiday season. He has made a final decision and he is off to the races. Our thanks to you, Dakari. Please come back again soon and give us an update on the race.
Will do. Thank you so much, Dr. Quartey.
Thank you. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.